Gun retailers are reporting a surge in the sale of gun silencers since January 4th, when the Obama administration announced a new round of regulations expected to create roadblocks for the most popular way of buying the devices. WSJ Law Deputy Bureau Chief Ashby Jones joins us now to discuss. Ashby, thanks so much for being with us.
You bet.
Now, before we get into all the new regulations, let's talk a little bit about what a gun silencer does exactly and what it sounds like, because I think most people's image of a gun silencer is what they see in the movies.
That's right. And what you see in the movies is somebody sneaking into an apartment and, in a mask and putting a silencer on and shooting somebody, and doing an assassination. And the bullet comes out. It sounds like a quiet little whisper or something. You can barely hear it. That's actually not at all what these silencers do. The silencers will kind of dampen the noise a little bit. It still sounds, like an explosion, like a gunpowder explosion, like a shotgun will still sound like a shotgun, but it just dampens the sound a little bit.
Just a little bit, but it certainly doesn't make it soundless. Definitely people can still hear the shot.
They can definitely still hear the shot, yeah.
So what regulations currently exist around gun silencers?
So it's complicated, but gun silencers are regulated by a law that goes back to the Depression, a 1934 law, which basically puts a lot of regulations on silencers. And what's going on now is the way it's been for a long time is that if you wanted to buy a silencer as an individual, you had to jump through a lot of hoops. Mm-hmm. People who wanted silencers found out that there was a loophole, that they had to form, if they formed a trust or created almost like a company, it became much, much easier to buy a silencer, and that's what's at issue in this new regulation.
I see. And so now the creation of these trusts has skyrocketed. There's something like 111,599 trusts for silencers in 2014?
That's right. So you create a trust, and that means with the trust you don't have to go through the same sort of background checks, etc. And you can name people in the trust. You can also use your silencer, etc. And this loophole was sort of discovered about 10 years ago. And since then, the number of trusts and the number of silencers in U.S. households has skyrocketed.
So what are the arguments both for and against? I mean, gun advocates say what about why they need to be able to
Gun advocates say that basically, while they don't do a ton, they don't muffle the sound all that much. Somebody said it will take like a shotgun blast down to the decibel level of like a jet engine or a jackhammer. Mm-hmm. Still very loud, but if you're repeatedly shooting and out hunting, it can help you with your hearing. I mean, you might not suffer the long-term hearing damage that somebody who's using one without a silencer
But aren't you supposed to wear the earmuffs?
You are when you're doing target shooting, but not necessarily if you're out hunting. Okay,
gotcha. So what do those who want to regulate guns say about the silencers?
Well, they say, look, I mean, the sound that a gun makes is actually a good thing. We want it to be loud because it sends a warning sign to somebody who might overhear this. You hear gunshots, you want to run away from the danger. And anything that sort of dampens that takes away that sort of warning shot kind of thing. If you were to hear a mass shooting or something, you hear that instinctively, you run away. If it's even just a little bit quieter, you might kind of inadvertently walk into harm's way or have less of a warning about what was going on.
Right. Okay. So as per what was signed on January 4th, how will that affect these trusts?
So what the new regulation, which goes into effect later in the year, it basically says that everybody in the trust has to go through a federal background check. That was not the way it was before. You have to submit passport photos and fingerprints. There's a lot more you have to go through in order to get a silencer as a trust. And so what's happening is everybody's saying, okay, well, before this thing goes into effect in July, let's set up a trust now before things go into effect. It'll just be much easier.
So they're essentially making acquiring a silencer almost as difficult as acquiring an actual gun.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. It's been that hard for some time. This trust loophole has made it easier, and now what they're doing is really closing the trust loophole.
All right, Ashby Jones, thank you so much for clarifying all that for us.
You bet. Thanks again.